What's up, YouTube? I'm Brett.
I'm Lance.
This is Rants or Us. As always, guys, if y'all enjoy our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave that comment down below. We're on the road to 1,000, and we hope you guys can help us get there. Alright, so, new Justice League viewing figures only 1/3 finished Snyder Cut. Does that surprise you, Lance?
It does surprise me just because the majority of the people I've talked to about Snyder Cut have all finished it. So I'm like,
Yeah, but
I
did
don't
they say
know.
how long it took them to finish it? Was it the 4
Yeah,
hours
I
or
mean,
was it longer than the 4 hours?
probably longer. I mean, if for me personally, if it hadn't been like I had other things going on, obviously with the kids and this and that, and so I would have to take breaks and deal with things to finish it. But if not, I would have sat there and watched the whole 4 hours.
All right. Well,
I would have.
let me say this: is this saying that 1/3 of viewers finished it all together, or is it saying that they stopped it and then started it back up and finished it? Like,
See,
did
that's
they
the
eventually
thing. Are
finish
they?
it, or can they?
That's kind of my question. Are they saying that they just never? They still haven't finished it. They started it, stopped, and just haven't finished it, or they had to take breaks
Yeah,
because
that's what I'm kind of looking at
that.
on that one because I'll admit I didn't finish it the first. I got to the 2 hour mark of it. I had to stop. Like you said, life gets in the way of things, but I did go back later that day and I finished watching it.
Yeah,
Uh, but
yeah.
but
So
it wasn't like I
maybe
was
that's
bored
about
or anything like that. It's just
no.
I had other
So
things to
maybe
do.
what this article is actually about is no one, most people didn't nonstop finish it. Like they
Let's
didn't
go.
just watch it straight through.
Let's go ahead and read it. Zack Snyder's Justice League viewing figures look impressive, but third-party analytics revealed just a third of viewers finished the film. It goes on to state streaming services tend to be pretty secretive, but fortunately, several impressive data analytics firms swiftly compile data to give a sense of the performance of movies and TV shows. Samba TV is typically one of the first responders, and they've revealed 1.8 million households watched the Snyder Cut in the U.S. over its opening weekend. This means the Snyder Cut was more popular than Falcon and the Winter Soldier Episode 1, although it didn't beat Wonder Woman 1984's 2.2 million opening weekend. That's not much of a surprise, though, given the Snyder Cut released on a random Thursday in March, whereas Wonder Woman 1984 dropped over the holiday period. Unfortunately, however, a deep dive into these figures suggests they aren't quite as impressive as they seem. Before I go any further, let me just state this one fact, though. I feel like it's unfair that they're comparing Wonder Woman 1984 to the Snyder Cut simply because when you're watching like television or something, you were seeing all of these things go on about, Wonder Woman 1984, Wonder Woman 1984. Every time I turned on my
Right.
Facebook, it was Wonder Woman 1984. Yes, there was some people that was into the Snyder Cut and maybe had subscribed to something where that they were seeing that too. But your average, just everyday viewer, it wasn't just right up in their face about the Snyder Cut. And then there was probably a lot of people that were like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
what is this Snyder Cut? I've already
No,
seen
I didn't
Justice
even.
League. Do I
I'll
want to
be
watch
honest.
it?"
The only reason I got or I saw anything about the sorry the Snyder Cut was because it came across my HBO Max.
Yeah, yeah. So
Saying that it was going to be coming out.
So I mean, when it comes to things, I'm kind of like, is it really was it, when they're doing the comparisons between Wonder Woman 1984, which was something that fans knew was going to be released all this time, and then kind of the Snyder Cut. I didn't even, dude, we keep up with this stuff with even the Snyder Cut. And I'll be honest, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
even really quite know, okay, is this going to be, like, I lost track of the day when the Snyder Cut was going to hit, too, because I wasn't a huge fan of the Snyder Cut. I wasn't following it at the time. Now, once I saw it, I was like, "This is great." But I'll admit, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I got on a lot of videos here on Rants or Us, and I said, "Hey, you know what? I don't know. I don't think the Snyder Cut's going to change anything." I was a little bit wrong. I do think
I'll
it
say
did
this. No,
change some things, but not drastically.
I wasn't looking that much forward to the Snyder Cut, but once I watched it, I was like, I'm so glad I watched this.
Oh, I
I'm
know.
so
I thought it
glad.
was way better than what I had imagined. Be I just thought they were going to add in some dark side scenes, maybe expand a little
That's
bit on
kind of what I
Cyborg's
talked to.
story
I
and how
talked
he
to a
was going to
buddy of
get it.
mine. I talked to a buddy of mine, Ian, about this a while back, or when right after we watched Snyder Cut, and that was one of my disappointments. Was there just wasn't enough of dark side. I thought, maybe the last I don't know 30 minutes or 45 minutes, it would be them actually having to face dark side instead of what we got. But I mean, I still thought it was a really strong movie for
I did too.
DC.
It says right here. It says in an interview with Syllabadul Incorporated, Samba TV's director Jeffrey Silverman explained that Samba TV count a viewer as someone who has watched over 5 minutes of a film or TV show. That's much more precise than some rival analytics firms, who frequently count a view if a person turned it to just 1 minute. But in the context of a mammoth 4-hour movie, it's not much of an indicator. When Samba TV checked the completion rate for the Snyder Cut, that is to say, the proportion of those 1.8 million households who finished the film, they found only 1/3 of households watched all 4 hours. But again, it's not stating did they take a break from it, did they do this? Like there's so many things where I kind of feel like people that even have watched half of it could just eventually go back and watch the other half. So I'm kind of feeling like, yes, that is a better analytics, but it's not like the full analytics that they need to get the grand.
No, and I feel like analytics, when you're looking at analytics that deeply, can ruin some things.
Let's see. It says right. Let's see. It says right here. It says it's worth noting this doesn't necessarily mean 2/3 of viewers who turned on the Snyder Cut decided to switch it off partway through. Many households have opted to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League in installments, splitting it up into 2 or 3 segments. All right, so that explains it. Or perhaps even watching one of the 6 chapters at a time.
So they are originally talking about sitting down and watching straight up 4 hours and 2 minutes of a movie. But and that's really hard to do when you have life.
Yeah. But it says it certainly means it's too soon to get a measure of the Snyder Cut's popularity, simply because viewing figures in and of themselves aren't a good metrics here. All right, I just want to go ahead and state when it comes to this Snyder Cut. Yes, fans were excited to get the Snyder Cut. They were, but fans are not accustomed to watching 4-hour movies. Unless you're like one of those fans that get the extended versions on like DVD or whatever it may be. You're not gonna get the full 4 hours. You're not accustomed to watching those kind of things.
And like I said, when you have kids or you have a job or anything like that, it's very hard to sit down. You tell me you're going to come home in the middle of the week after working 8 hours that day and watch a 4-hour movie before you go to bed? No, I wouldn't.
It released on a Thursday. That's
what I'm saying.
And
so you come home from work that day.
Released over the holidays. So I mean,
right.
I mean that's
it is a big deal. So I don't think that those numbers or those analytics speak to how good this movie actually was.
No, I don't think it does either. I
thought it was phenomenal, but like I said, if I dig, there's little problems I can pick out of anything, and yeah, there was some problems I had with it, but overall, I thought it was an excellent movie. And me personally, I would go back and rewatch it. I know it's 4 hours long, but I would still do it. It might not, like I said, not in one sitting for sure, but it would still be something I would enjoy to watch again.
Do you think that this is going to be the future? I know I've talked about this on other videos here on Rants, but I want to get your take on it. Is do you think that this is the future where we're going to start seeing more extended cuts that are going to be made, or do you think
I think you
going to be
could.
Snyder Cut?
I think you could look at you could look or expect to see that a lot more because let's face it, like how much more money do you think DC made off of the Snyder Cut?
I know.
Or,
the re-release of it. I mean, it was. See, that's the part that kind of drives me crazy with the Snyder Cut because I'm like, and I've even said this. It's kind of left a bitter taste in my mouth to a certain extent because I wasn't really excited about the Snyder Cut. I wasn't one of those that was pushing for the Snyder Cut to be re-released. I thought it wasn't going to be that much of a game changer. But now that I've seen it, I'm like, okay, this is actually significantly better than the original was. But now they're saying they're not going to go anymore with the Snyderverse, that he's done his trilogy of films, and that they're done and over with Zack Snyder. So I'm kind of like, okay, we got to see the epilogue with, what's going to happen with, Dark Side and all that other kind of stuff. And now all that's going to be kind of like pushed to the wayside. We'll never get to finish that particular story. And that kind of bothers me a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like you get, I don't know, something great, a book, and then the author's like, oh, I'm not writing another one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're stuck with this one. Don't ask me for another one.
And I would hate that, and I kind of feel that way with this too. Maybe with as successful as it's been, maybe that'll change. I hope it does. Me personally, I hope we see more of Zack Snyder in the DC universe.
You bring up a very good point about what if you were reading a book? You were reading a book and you're like, this is the most amazing book that I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and then you find out, like, literally, as soon as you get done reading it, the author's like, I'm not, and it drops on like a cliffhanger. And the author's like, I'll never write another one. You'd feel like you just wasted all your time.
Here's an example for me. For me, this is a good example. If J.K. Rowling had come out after Snape killed Dumbledore and was like, oh, this is it. I'm not finishing these books. Mm-hmm. I'd have been like, screw that woman.
Yeah, because you've invested hours and hours of your time into her story. Right. And then if she was like, no, I'm just leaving it at that. I'm done with these books. That would piss you off as a reader. But usually that is the reason why.
Or you can look at it, from the Game of Thrones point of view, and pretty much that's what George R.R. Martin has done. Yeah, is like screwed.
And look at the outrage that's happened. I mean, you can't tell me,
just with us alone.
Yeah, I mean, HBO's wanting to release a lot of things when it comes to Game of Thrones. And I don't know if there's fan support necessarily behind it because at the end of the day...
I worry about that with the House of the Dragon series. Are that many fans really going to tune into this after George R.R. Martin has done us the way he's done us?
I don't think...
Probably not. I'm gonna, but I don't know if everyone else is going to feel the way I feel about it.
Because you don't want the same thing like what's happening with the Snyder Cut to happen because... Look, if they weren't this is the way I kind of look at it. I think fans thought if they released the Snyder Cut, and it turned out to be a big hit, then Zack Snyder would come back and finish his story thing. I think that's really
what I think he should, but
I don't. That's not going to happen though.
No, it's not going to happen, and I wish it would. I wish it would. Personally, too. But overall, with this is how I kind of feel. I don't feel like those analytics that we read here really paint the picture for what's gone on with
I don't think it
his
does.
Snyder Cut. Like I find that hard to believe.
Look, it to me there was so many things that was working against the Snyder Cut, and because I know there was a lot of people that was like me, we were like, this movie when it originally came out wasn't really that good. How could you make this movie into something
Or
that we
why
would be
would you?
excited
Or
to see
yeah.
again?
Or why would you try? That's kind of where I
I
was. I
struggled
wasn't
with that.
like I said, I wasn't looking forward to this, and if it hadn't been for Rants or Us, I probably wouldn't have watched it.
Yeah, I know that.
But I'm like I said, I am really thankful, and I'm really glad that I did.
Yeah, because I mean, I looked at this movie and I was like, oh man, I don't know if I could watch this movie again.
And I remember telling you, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna watch this, and I'm gonna check it out, and then like I remember looking it up. I'm like, it's 4 hours long.
I know,
dude. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to watch this. Like, if it's anything like the original cut, I'm not gonna be able to put myself through 4 hours of that.
Dude, I struggle. There was enough of the original cut that was there. Yes, they did change some things around. They made the ending so much better than they did. They gave
I feel like
individual character a reason to be there. But it's still.
I feel like in a whole, like just the change between just the change with Flash alone was worth the movie.
You know what? I actually agree with you on that. Just the ending with the change with Flash, and I know that might not be significant to a lot of people, but it was significant to me as well. Is just changing his ending and making it where that he played a significant role in what went on, changed the whole dynamic of that movie for me, because it made me, Batman had a reason, Aquaman had a reason, Wonder Woman had a reason. Everybody had a reason to be there. It wasn't just about Superman swooping in and saving the day. It was They were all there doing their part as well. It wasn't Superman that saved the day. It was actually the Flash that saved the day.
Pretty much, yeah.
In the Whedon version of it, the Flash just basically just saved a family of 4, and that was it. That was all he was.
Yeah, and at least in this, Superman didn't have a weird edited out mustache. Like,
yeah, I know. That alone makes a big difference in a lot of regards. Now, there was some things about it that I was like, yeah, they could have done with that. I don't really think we needed the Martian Manhunter thing. I didn't think they needed all the slow-mos of Jason Momoa taking his shirt off or that woman sniffing his sweater. Like, I didn't really think we needed those moments. Some of those moments, maybe that's what, I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, overall, I do think that overall, for what this topic is about, I do think that these numbers just don't paint the whole picture, because I'm pretty sure almost everyone who started it eventually has gone back and finished it, or at least has plans to still finish it.
And I think at the end of the day, this has brought more goodwill to DC than what Wonder Woman 1984 did. I don't care really what the numbers say. I feel like this has changed the game for DC, where maybe now I feel like DC's got a footing now, in that they can move on from they can move and create bigger and better things. Where with Wonder Woman 1984, I was really distraught after watching it, because I'm like, where do they go from here? Like, am I excited?
Yeah, I enjoyed that movie. I enjoyed the 1984 a little bit more than you did, but
I hated that movie with a passion. I hated it.
I know you did.
It wasn't. I don't want to just completely hate on. I think it was Patty Jenkins as director of it, because I did enjoy the original one. But I will say this: I hated it simply because it was just it wasn't edited. It needed to be edited. Some of the scenes didn't fit good. It had like 2 introduction scenes, and I'm like, that didn't really pick one, pick the other, but don't just add this conglomerated mess.
Well, like I said in the
story,
It's kind
and
of
not
like
really
what
have
I
a
had
good
said in
payoff.
our 1984 review. I was like, when they did the flashback of her as a girl, it didn't quite add up to the flashback of her as a
Mall.
girl from the first movie.
No, and it didn't add well with the mall scene.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I get kind of sick and tired of even in the Snyder Cut where they have Wonder Woman always having to look at a little girl and saying, the little girl being like, wow, I want to be like you. Like, we don't see that with anybody other than Wonder Woman.
Well,
Why do they have to
well,
add that with Wonder Woman?
my biggest issue with that is the little girl's like, I want to be like you, and can I be like you when I grow up? And Wonder Woman's like, yeah, you can be anything you want to be. She can never be Wonder Woman.
No,
Why
she
are
can
you
never be
telling her
Wonder
this?
Woman. She should use that at the very end. You can be, put that disclaimer on her forehead. You can be anything you
But
want to be except Wonder Woman.
but they even had and I think this is why they put them in all these movies, this and all these movies. If you go and you look at some of the Justice League animated series, I think like War, she says the same thing to a little girl in that.
And I know, but I'm still like, you don't do that with Batman or Superman. You don't think that kids look up to Superman? I mean, yeah, I mean, come on. You know, they do.
No, I get it. I get
And
what
I'm
you're
like,
saying.
I would think this exact same thing if it was Superman. If you had like every movie, Superman goes to a kid and the kid's like, I want to be just like you. And he'd be like, you can do anything you want except be me. Something like that.
Yeah,
Something like that. But I mean, add that
yeah. I'm
except
like,
me part.
I feel like Superman would be like, hey, you can be just like me when you grow up, but you're gonna be Lex Luthor.
Yeah. Or but see, Batman might could get away with it. He'd be like, you know what?
Batman
Get
could,
rich
because all you have to
and
be like, is
you can
if you
create
got
your own
money,
Batcave.
you can be me.
Yeah,
Like
that'd
that
be
makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, so Batman literally
But
could say that to someone.
I don't really
No one
have
else
much
can.
more. I don't really have much more to say other than, like I said, I've said it twice already. These numbers, it's not a clear picture of how
I don't think
this
it's a
movie really did.
I don't think it's a clear picture either. I see where they're coming from, but at the same time, I'm like, I feel like this has brought more goodwill to DC than what Wonder Woman 1984 is.
Yeah,
So comparing
yeah.
it to Wonder Woman 1984 is kind of a mistake. I look at it. But overall, guys, let us know what y'all think. Let us know if y'all think that these numbers like really tell the full picture of whether or not the Snyder Cut was a success or not, or if y'all think that, you know what, at the end of the day, Snyder Cut was completely and totally worth it, and
I
that
would call it a
fans
success.
are more excited about that than they've ever been of any DC film. But let
Yeah,
us
and
know.
I would call it a success just because of what it's done for the DC universe, just the attention it's brought, and the fact that I, as a fan of DC since I was a kid, more so than Marvel, got excited for something DC again. Like after watching the original version that they gave us of Justice League, I wasn't excited for
I wasn't
this.
either. I
And
wasn't
so it
excited
brought
about
some
it.
excitement back. And so for me being such a DC fan, that goes a lot longer than looking at how many people watched the straight 4 hours of it.
Yeah,
But
I think it was a success by far. I mean, I think it was probably the best success DC's ever had. But guys, let us know what y'all think down below. And as always, guys, thanks y'all so much for watching.